Representative Robert Andrews from the great state of Jersey joins us now and still digesting the Chris Christie news.
So, New Jersey, whether you like it or not, you're stuck with me.
Good morning, Congressman. According to polling, they don't like it.
Yeah, that stuck comment might have been pretty accurate. I've been saying that Governor Christie played well at the Reagan Library, but he's not playing so well at New Jersey libraries. We've had cutbacks in education. We've not, our higher education system's under a lot of stress. I think he's going to have a very rough time in his reelection campaign.
Well, Representative, that's what I wonder if people, the media gets so breathless over, some people, and I'm sure you've seen poll after poll. The president would kill him in New Jersey in a matchup. That has to tell you something about how people in New Jersey feel about how he's governing.
Well, I think that's true. I think another thing that's true here, it says a lot about Mitt Romney.
Right.
In poll after poll, anywhere from 3/4 to 2/3 of Republicans don't want Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
So, Stephanie, if you switch parties today and thought about running, you'd be the flavor of the moment.
Awesome.
Which I'm not suggesting that, by the way, on any level. But anybody who's not Mitt Romney, there's an infatuation with. So, first it was Michelle Bachmann, of all people, in the Iowa straw poll. Then Rick Perry rides in out of the ranch he was hunting at, and and actually says two pretty sensible things. That undocumented kids who've gotten a high school diploma, who came here when they were young, ought to be able to go to Texas universities for in-state tuition. There's a shocker for you. He says that becomes his Armageddon.
Yep.
And then the heinous idea that young women should be vaccinated by Gardasil, unless their parents opt them out. These two radical thoughts have, trashed the Rick Perry campaign.
Yep.
So now they're looking for somebody else who's not Mitt Romney. And
yep.
I think what would have happened to Chris Christie is that the same thing happened to Rick Perry. I'm going to give you an example. Chris Christie admirably nominated an Islamic judge to the New Jersey Superior Court. And there's a lot of pushback, and he, to his credit, stood up and said, this is ridiculous.
Yep.
That this notion that Sharia law is going to take over the United States is just absurd. That, I trust you, but by the end of the first day of his candidacy, that would have been a big problem for him.
Oh, please. The fact that he believes in science and global warming and sensible gun control. I said this earlier, Congressman, I want to get your take, is I think Chris Christie realized that he's too liberal for the present composition of the Republican Party.
I actually think that was a factor in his decision. And, if you're not in the Flat Earth Society, you're having a hard time running in that primary.
Right. Look at, Mitt Romney has had to run away from the only two things that, were good accomplishments, health care in Massachusetts, and he was a big believer in closing corporate loopholes, as was Ronald Reagan, the clip we just played, for big corporations.
I think what's even more absurd about it is what they're discussing, not just how they're discussing it. The number one problem in the country today, maybe the only problem in the country today, really is jobs. That's what everybody cares about.
Right.
The president has a jobs plan.
Yep.
Eric Cantor says we're not allowed to vote on it for some odd reason.
Or even debate it, right?
Or debate it, because it's not important enough. But look at what they're talking about. The one was whether Texas high school students who aren't citizens should be able to Texas universities with in-state tuition. I hear a lot about that at home, by the way. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is whether a perfectly rational provision that says young girls will get a Gardasil inoculation unless their parents opt out is some government takeover of girls' bodies, which they seem perfectly willing to do, by the way, when it comes to freedom of choice, but that's another matter. But the this is bizarre.
Yeah.
They're talking about issues that the American people aren't interested in.
Well, exactly. As you say, what the American people are interested in are jobs. And here we are again. Eric Cantor said this bill's dead. What happens now? We'll look at parts of it. Well, obviously, if you just do parts of it, it doesn't work.
What happens now is that what the President did yesterday in Dallas, I hope he keeps doing. He took it to the people of the country and said, look, I've said 4 basic things here. I've said, let's put people to work building roads and bridges and clean water systems. I've said, let's not have a $1,500 a year income tax increase on middle-class families. And I've said, let's cut taxes for small businesses that hire people. And I've said, let's give some money to states to hire back teachers and police officers and firefighters who otherwise would get laid off. Those are the 4 radical things the President has proposed. And, I think if you ask the average person at a shopping mall, they agree with all 4 of those things.
Yeah.
I think what he needs to do is go out sell the plan. We need to sell it here, and then, dare the Republicans not to put it up for a vote.
Yep. Representative, got to get your take on Occupy Wall Street, which, I think is really obviously growing and growing. And, I think they've really hit on what it's about. And it's, in my mind, a lot of what Democrats and the presidents have been saying, we are the 99%. The Republicans are for the 1%.
Yeah, I think this is a really welcome breath of fresh air in American politics, because the narrative the Republicans have been pushing is that big government is the cause of all the problems middle-class people and working-class people feel. Now, truthfully, it is the cause of some of them. Government does some things pretty stupidly when you come right down to it. But I would argue that people who are losing their houses because their real estate values drop, I kind of look to Wall Street for the genesis of that problem.
That's right.
If your job got outsourced to Malaysia a couple of years ago, I don't think that's really the House of Representatives that did that. I think it's the big investment banks are behind the movement of capital around the world. If you're getting screwed, pardon the phrase, by your health insurance company because you dare to have breast cancer or diabetes, I don't really think it was the Senate that created that problem. I think it was the big health insurance companies. So people are starting to realize that the real powerful force in America that's disrupting the middle class and destroying the middle class are these enormous, unaccountable global corporations that believe they can fly the American flag when it's convenient, but not pay taxes to America when they don't feel like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what's amazing. This Ronald Reagan, clip that we just played that you've seen probably on TV. I mean, it's exactly what Warren Buffett and then the president have said. And that, if that doesn't show you how far right this Republican Party has gone, then I don't know what will.
It's not even a matter of right or left. It's sort of relevant versus irrelevant. I mean, look, I don't claim we have all the answers how to create jobs, but it is the question we are focused on. The Democrats in the last 10 days, when the Republicans took their 11th vacation of the year, went home and met with over 2,000 small business people around the country and said to them, what do you think we ought to do? And we came back with a lot of good ideas, many of which are in the president's plan, by the way. Republicans are debating 12-year-olds getting Gardasil vaccination.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Representative, always such a pleasure, and thanks so much for taking time for us. Representative Robert
pleasure.
Andrews of the great state
of... Rika, if you enter the Republican primary, you let me know. I'll never speak to you again, but you let me know.
Listen, I'll have your endorsement then. Thank you, sir. All right, that'll...
Corporations are people, my friend. Yes, they are.